Okay, I wanted to collect my thoughts on my GPX before I shipped it off to the new owner today. I've had this one for probably 6 months or so now. I really didn't end up using it much, and yeah, I guess I'm trying to make this video to get some better vocalization of why that is. On paper, especially now that I've fixed some of my minor gripes with the mods I did to it, it's really, really, really nice. So, first of all, I've aluminum taped everything, so the thumb buttons have some pre-travel still, but ultimately they're still clicking well before they're being depressed into the shell, and you can hear they're nice and crispy. And then the scroll wheel with the TTC gold encoder was pretty rattly at first, but after I lubed it, it's gotten very nice. It has a hot swap PCB in it, so I put a pair of KLGM2s on the main switches. And these are honestly probably my favorite clicks on any mouse I've used. They're really snappy. Feels really easy to spam quickly. I'm not the fastest clicker, but you know, there's some post travel if I push hard, you know, that travel, but it gives me enough feedback shortly after the actual click actuation that I don't go too far into that post travel when I'm trying to click quickly. So it helps kind of speed that up. And yeah, the clicks have very little physical motion of the buttons before they happen. So it feels really snappy and responsive. Sounds great. Feels great. It's crazy. Scroll click is silent on the hot swap PCB. Should be more reliable than the stock scroll click. So anyway, so all of that stuff, really, really, really good. Core pads grip tape, really grippy, works great. Really doesn't have visible wear on it because I didn't use it that much. So what, now that we're 3 minutes in, why am I actually selling this mouse if it's so good? So I like certain things the shape does. I really like the way the hump pockets into my mid and upper palm right in here. My hand just kind of naturally folds around that if I pull it into my grip. And so that creates a very consistent point of contact. My grip is very repeatable, and it provides a good amount of stability to the rear of the mouse. Because my palm placement is very consistent, that means my finger placement is very consistent. But ultimately, from what I want out of the mouse, I prefer something where I can have my ring finger kind of high and up on the side. And the combination of this relatively small lip with actually the edge of the grip tape right there just sort of creates a little bit of a crease on the inside of my ring finger, and it's kind of distracting. So that's one thing that kind of frustrates me about using it, is I feel like I have to intentionally kind of crane my ring finger down around the side of it to get onto the grip tape, and that's just not as comfortable of a grip long term for playing, because it either forces my fingers to kind of twist outwards like this, which is fatiguing compared to a more relaxed grip, or it forces my ring finger kind of down along the side of the mouse, and that bullies my pinky finger off the side of the mouse here. So now my pinky finger's competing for space in this area, especially with my ring finger, and so it doesn't naturally touch the side of the mouse anymore. So I don't have a really relaxed way of holding it with a typical 1-2-2 grip. What I can do, I suppose, is basically just float my pinky. The grip tape is grippy enough that I could play like this, and I have zero issues picking the mouse up without any pinky contact. And the palm contact is stable enough. There's not really any issue there. So if I didn't mind, say, dragging my pinky on the mouse or just physically hovering it, maybe like wrapping it around the outside of my ring finger or something like this, then this would be an acceptable grip option, I think. But yeah, I don't know. It's just not my favorite overall in terms of the compromises I feel like I'm making. The other part of it is that when I'm using what I feel like is an appropriate grip, which is to say one that lines the sensor up with my forearm and gives me, when I'm doing long left to right flicks, gives me very consistently horizontal motion with my body's mechanical tendencies, so I don't end up flicking like right and up or right and down when I try to do long flicks to the side, unless I'm deliberately trying to go right and up. Anyway, for click comparison, here's a Logitech with some stock switches for sound. So these are the KLGM2s, and here's stock Logitech Omrons. Obviously, different shell, but just much nicer sound. Sounds higher quality to me. I really like it. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, when I try to hold it in the correct orientation, back to that, what I find as well is that the pinky knuckle area of my hand, a little bit, and my pinky contact, in general, this far right side of my hand just feels a little bit lost. Like it's kind of just, I always find myself like tensing this knuckle here, trying to get a better contact or grip with the side of the mouse. And at the same time, tense down here and then lift my pinky up so it's not dragging on the pad. And those two things just there's enough like conscious kind of muscular tension I'm having to put in to maintain what feels like a correct grip that it's very distracting. I find myself constantly focusing my attention on how my mouse grip feels a lot of the time when I try to use this mouse. So that's what makes it more frustrating, and why I don't find myself reaching for it, or like I'll try it and I'll be like, wow, this feels so good. Why don't I use this more? And then yeah, I remember all of those things. I experience them again, and it kind of goes back in the box and sits there. So for comparison, the Outset wireless for me is a little bit better. It has a little bit of extra width here, so my pinky knuckle has contact without having to squeeze as much. It's still got a reasonably tall front end despite the tilt, and this corner is rounded over a little bit more, so my ring finger can rest up here a little bit easier without there being a lip that kind of grinds into it. I don't know, maybe if I took the grip tape off, this corner would be better on the GPX, but I know it's at least the experience is better with the Outset. Other than that, again, naturally I grip it at an angle where the sensor orientation is correct for my mechanics. The buttons are still really good. I recently swapped this one to GM2s as well. Happy with that. Scroll wheel's great. Scroll click thumb buttons are great. Typical Vaxi stuff. And yeah, just in general, I just put my hand on this mouse and go, zoop, there's my grip. And it's less fatiguing and less obnoxious, so the mouse does a better job of disappearing into my hand, and I can focus on whatever I'm trying to do on the computer instead of actively paying attention to my mouse grip the whole time. So just works better. Fewer mods needed, and just less kind of distracting to use for long periods of time. So that's why I ended up basically putting most other stuff that I own in the box once this guy showed up, and I'm pretty much maining the outset for gaming at home for the foreseeable future. Yep, so those are my closing thoughts on the GPX. Now it's going to go get cleaned up and then get put in a box with its brand new core pads, glides really well, and go to the new owner. So hopefully they really enjoy it. Hopefully the shape works a little bit better for them and their grip. Maybe their ring finger is more flexible than mine. And yeah, so sweet. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully that was helpful for some of you who have, were wondering about some longer term impressions, my thoughts on the shape.